I'm a toxicologist, and today we're talking about the worst type of cookware lurking in your kitchen that you need to toss right now. There is a lot of nonsense and BS online, and unfortunately, some of it even comes from doctors. So let's dive into the toxicology data and set the record straight. Keep watching to learn about the safest types of cookware because it just might surprise you. So what's the worst type of cookware? Anything with a non-stick coating. Guaranteed, if you walk into any store right now, 9 out of 10 pans are coated with non-stick chemicals. Even all the air fryers that everyone's using, the liners that go into the air fryers, rice cookers, pots, pans, parchment paper. I mean, these nonstick chemicals are literally everywhere. So what's the issue? Nonstick coatings on cookware are primarily composed of man-made chemicals known as per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS for short. You might know them as Teflon, which are just one type of chemical within this group. These chemicals are so widespread in consumer products and are extremely persistent in the environment. As such, we're exposed continuously, and there are PFAS in all of our bodies. What are PFAS exactly? Well, there are 15,000 types of chemicals within this broad class, according to the EPA. They've been used in industrial and consumer goods for 80 years. But when you look at the scientific literature, the first reports of Teflon toxicity date back over 70 years. Yet only now are the health effects in humans becoming widely known. How does this happen? Well, this is because chemicals are not required to be fully tested for toxicity or safety before they're released onto the market. Among all the PFAS chemicals, perfluorooctanoic acid, or PFOA, and perfluorooctane sulfonate, PFOS, have been the most well characterized. But again, this data is coming out after they've already been in use for decades, and we've already been exposed for decades. The carbon and fluorine bonds of these substances make them chemically stable, extremely resistant to degradation even at high temperatures, and resistant to oil and water, making them perfect for profitability. In fact, they are so chemically stable that they've been detected in polar bear fat, meaning they have accumulated in such a way that they have moved all the way up the food chain, which is extremely concerning. What are the health effects or toxic effects of PFAS? According to the EPA, some of the known health effects of PFAS in humans include, mind you, a lot are still unknown. So the ones that are known include infertility, hypertension during pregnancy, which can be deadly, developmental effects or delays in children, including low birth weight, accelerated puberty, bone variations, or behavioral changes, increased risk of some cancers, including prostate, kidney, and testicular cancers, and the reduced ability of the body's immune system to fight infections, including reduced response to vaccines. They can also lead to interference with the body's natural hormones, which is known as endocrine disruption, as well as increased cholesterol levels and or risk of obesity. Intestinal inflammation has also been noted with PFAS exposure, which is similar to conditions like ulcerative colitis. We are exposed to PFAS through a variety of ways. For example, working in a job such as firefighting or chemical manufacturing and processing, drinking water that's contaminated with PFAS, spoiler alert, most water contains PFAS, unfortunately. Eating certain foods that contain PFAS like fish, if you swallow accidentally contaminated soil or dust, if you breathe air containing PFAS, it's in the air, and using products made with PFAS or that are packaged in products that contain PFAS. Again, these things are literally everywhere. They're in our drinking water. So go ahead and look up the quality of your drinking water in your municipal area. It's also in soil, firefighting foams, food like fish and dairy, food packaging, like I mentioned earlier, parchment paper, microwave popcorn bags, pizza boxes, and household products like anything that has a stain or water repellent coating on it, like carpets, upholstery, furniture. You can even have it with clothing, other fabrics, cleaning products. My gosh. Non-stick cookware, of course, paints, varnishes, and sealants, as well as personal care products like shampoo, dental floss, and cosmetics. So if you're interested in knowing about PFAS and cosmetics, I go over that in detail in this video here. But for the sake of today's topic of cookware, let's discuss the specific risks of PFAS chemicals in cookware. First, let me say that toddlers and children are the most highly exposed population groups, according to scientists at the European Food Safety Authority, or EFSA. Exposure during pregnancy and breastfeeding is also the main contributor to PFAS exposure in infants. Children are being born with PFAS in their bodies, and evidence is mounting showing the adverse health effects such as metabolic dysfunction, thyroid problems, ADHD, and decreased semen quality in adulthood in boys who were exposed in utero. These are easily avoidable exposures, and once we get rid of these PFAS chemicals from our homes, we can reap significant benefits. Let's talk about PFAS in cookware. The historical material in nonstick cookware was Teflon, or PTFE. According to the EPA, PFOA and PFOS have been phased out. But the problem is that they're just being replaced by chemicals with similar toxic concerns, like Gen X. This is known as regrettable substitution. Some of the problems with PFAS in cookware are, number one, volatilization. PTFE-coated cookware releases gases and chemicals that can lead to mild to severe toxicity, which comprises an inhalation risk. Anything you inhale can gain access to your bloodstream and brain quickly. So this is something to look out for. Number two, migration or leaching into food. PFAS are fat-soluble compounds, meaning they can leach in the presence of oils and fats. This has been documented in food contact materials like pizza boxes, microwave popcorn bags, and fast food containers like the clamshell boxes in popular burger chains. Various factors influence how much or if a chemical migrates or leaches into our food, but in a simplistic way, it basically increases with heat, contact time, the amount of fat, as well as the amount of PFAS that was in the food contact material. Studies also indicate that the presence of salt can increase leaching, as well as low pH, such as acidic foods like tomato sauce. These concepts are generally true pretty much for the majority of cookware materials. Of course, it's nuanced, but these general factors come into play. Issue number 3 is the release of PFAS microplastic particles into your food. The type of PFAS commonly found in nonstick cookware are PTFE, which are considered plastic. One study showed that a single scratch on a nonstick coating on a pan can release 9,100 plastic particles into your food, which you are ingesting. To make things worse, they found that a cracked coating releases 2.3 million microplastics and nanoplastic particles into your food, aka 2.3 million particles of PFAS into your food that you are ingesting that doesn't break down, that accumulates in your body. Microplastic and nanoplastic particles are tiny microscopic pieces of plastic that are extremely toxic and also bioaccumulative because they don't break down. And there's even evidence that they induce oxidative stress and lead to inflammation. The long-term health effects are not known, but it's not looking good. As if it couldn't get any worse, microplastics and nanoplastics release endocrine disrupting plasticizer chemicals into the body and carry toxic substances into our cells. So avoiding micro and nanoplastics as much as possible is optimal. And issue number 4 with nonstick cookware is the environmental pollution. I've used plenty of nonstick coated cookware in my time, and it is extremely easy to scratch. In fact, I kept using my scratched nonstick cookware, and there is no telling how much Teflon or PFAS I ingested because of this. Not to mention, once they're scratched, the base metal underneath is usually aluminum. This comes in direct contact with our food. Unfortunately, aluminum has concerns for neurotoxicity as well as increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. So this is not an optimal cookware material at all. And once you throw out nonstick cookware, the PFAS chemicals don't just magically disappear. They remain and persist in the air we breathe, the soil where crops are grown, the water we drink, irrigate our crops with, and foods like fish and processed food. This is just one perfect example of why it's so important to be aware of these types of issues and the potential impacts that our buying decisions make on our health as well as the environment. What we buy doesn't just affect our health, but every single person who was involved in the production and manufacturing, our future generations, and of course, our environment. If you're gaining value from this video, go ahead and hit the like button to let the algorithm know that you're enjoying it. The worst type of cookware, in my expert opinion, is the nonstick air fryer, which is pretty much every air fryer out there right now. Why is this the worst? Well, let's take a step back and think about how this device works. It's basically a convection oven that has a heating element and a fan to blow hot air around the food, heating it evenly and creating a crispy texture without the heavy use of oil, which sounds like a dream, right? However, most of these things are housed in plastic. And if you've ever bought one and plugged it in for the first time and smelled an awful plastic chemical smell, you will know exactly what I'm referring to. I've even heard of people having to off-gas their air fryers outside or in the garage for several days before they could even stand to bring it into their homes. If this is not a red flag, I don't know what is. When you heat plastic, non-stick coating materials, and blow the fumes around, you're asking for a disaster. Since these non-stick chemicals aren't just migrating or leaching directly into your food, but you're also inhaling them. As if things couldn't get worse, we're now seeing disposable paper liners for air fryers. Of course, they make cleanup easier, but just stop for a second and remember that these paper liners are food contact materials. And we discussed earlier that food contact materials can be coated in PFAS chemicals too. So not only is the container where you're cooking the food coated in PFAS, but the liners are also coated in PFAS. You might be thinking that the silicone liners are a better option, but these are also problematic, and the European Food Safety Authority has expressed concerns over the potential leaching of endocrine disrupting cyclic silicones from silicone cookware. So it's looking like all these convenience products are carrying a hefty price tag, which is our health. So I just want to encourage you to think of the cooking techniques that our ancestors used and go back to basics rather than quickly adopting every new invention or gadget that comes out without researching and doing your due diligence. Unfortunately, most of this stuff doesn't have any data behind it, so you're really taking a big risk with your health. So what's a better option than the conventional non-stick plastic air fryer? A glass convection oven like the Big Boss is a much better choice, or the Our Place Wonder Oven, which is made entirely of stainless steel on the inside. Always check with the manufacturer on the materials because they can change at any point without notice. In terms of the best cookware, here's my ranking based on the materials, the ease of use, and the cost. Number 3 is stainless steel. The pros are that it's lightweight, easy to use, easy to source, affordable, and durable. The cons are the potential for leaching of nickel and chromium in acidic foods at high temperatures, which can be problematic for those who already have nickel allergies or eczema, since nickel can exacerbate these issues. A workaround would be to source stainless steel that does not contain nickel, and to also avoid cooking acidic foods for long periods at high temperatures. Just keep in mind that just because you're not sensitive to nickel right now, it's not a guarantee that you won't become sensitized later, since allergic reactions and sensitization from nickel can take time to form, which comes with repeated exposures. So just something to keep in mind, but not a problem for the vast majority of people. Number 2 is carbon, steel, and cast iron. The pros are that they heat evenly, they're easy to source, they're affordable, and extremely durable. The cons are higher maintenance than stainless steel initially, but once you get your non-stick coating on there, you get it seasoned well, it works like a dream. A problem is that they can also leach iron in the presence of acidic foods like lemon juice and tomato sauce, so it's not recommended to cook these types of foods in cast iron. With that said, I personally love my cast iron panini press that I recently got, as well as my Japanese omelet pan. So in number 1, my personal top pick is pure ceramic cookware. Pure ceramic, unlike coated ceramic, is only made of ceramic throughout. Coated ceramic is usually aluminum, which, as I mentioned, has neurotoxicity as well as Alzheimer's concerns. The downside of these pans is that the coating can also become easily scratched and wear off, exposing the base metal underneath, which is aluminum. So they have similar issues with nonstick cookware, except the ceramic coatings are supposedly safer because they don't contain PFAS. That brings up another issue, since ceramic coated cookware companies are not transparent and don't disclose the exact materials that are used in their ceramic coatings. So with that said, we need to treat any unknowns as red flags until we have more information, since we have no idea what could be leaching from these ceramic coatings into our food. That's why I personally use Pure Ceramic Cookware by Extrema, which has been third-party accredited lab tested for lead and cadmium leaching in the presence of acid. That is the only type of testing that is valid when it comes to cookware. Consumer testing, unfortunately, is inadequate to determine true risk or hazard due to lead or cadmium leaching in cookware, because those tests are qualitative at best, and we need qualitative, well-controlled experiments following set guidelines to make educated and informed decisions. Remember that when it comes to cookware, any toxic elements like heavy metals must be extractable. Otherwise, they cannot be considered as part of our risk assessment, because they would not pose a risk since they're non-extractable and would remain in the cookware material itself. So they basically are not included in our risk assessment because they're staying in the cookware. I've gone ahead and linked my favorite cookware and products in the description box below. If you're on a mission to detoxify your home and find the safest products for your family, just click or tap the screen to watch my videos about non-toxic home and baby swaps. Thanks for watching, and be sure to hit the like and subscribe button so you'll see videos that I'm uploading every single week about low tox lifestyle, safe baby, beauty, and household products.